Morning, and welcome to What You Gotta Say. All right, so we went through this. We talked about our better angels, but if your better angels are still being shouted down by the one demon or the cult of 45, uh, here's something that you can consider. Yesterday, they just released information confirming what we knew yet again, another Trump plot. And we're going to dive into that right after this break.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Yitkedal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله.
Our often repeated prayers,
Although we may be different,
yet similar.
as we reach out to our Creator,
we offer all praise.
And we seek forgiveness.
we ask for peace in our hearts, in our minds, and in our spirits. Amen.
Now, let me take you back 4 years. And this is after, Trump had pushed the Fed to drop the interest rates to an all-time low. And then because the interest rates dropped, meant money was cheaper to borrow. People borrow money to, of course, handle a great deal of expansions. And then Trump was on his tirade saying, I have built the greatest economy in the world. Yet, looming on the other side were things that were happening. One, Ukrainian was involved, and this was during the Obama administration, in which to combat their fight with the Russians, Americans were selling them weapons, including stingers, which are surface to air to handle anti-aircraft. And because the Russians basically had superior air power and they needed something to balance that out to help them win the war. Now, they're desperate. They're calling off Donald Trump. Then, of course, the ambassadors started leaking that Trump had them in a quid quo pro. Now, once this leak came out, and of course the investigations began to surface, or the investigations to the investigations, which is one of the biggest problems with big government, is because you have to have a committee to start the pre-investigations, then the investigations, then a committee to find the results of the investigations, and then a committee to give actions based upon the investigation, and then impeachment. So this process is now starting. Trump gets wind of it, and this is what he says. Listen to this. Watch this.
I'm going to go very quickly, just a quick comment on what's going on in terms of testimony with Ambassador Sondland. And I just noticed one thing, and I would say that means it's all over. What do you want from Ukraine? He asks me, screaming. What do you want from Ukraine? I keep hearing all these different ideas and theories. This is Ambassador Sondland speaking to me. Just happened. To which I turned off the television. What do you want from Ukraine? I keep hearing all these different ideas and theories. What do you want? What do you want? It was a very short and abrupt conversation that he had with me. They said he was not in a good mood. I'm always in a good mood. I don't know what that is. He just said, now he's talking about what my response. So he's going, what do you want? What do you want? I hear all these theories. What do you want, right? And now, here's my response that he gave, just gave. Ready? You have the cameras rolling? I want nothing. That's what I want from Ukraine. That's what I said. I want nothing. I said it twice. So he goes, he asked me the question, what do you want? I keep hearing all these things. What do you want? He finally gets me. I don't know him very well. I have not spoken to him much. This is not a man I know well. Seems like a nice guy, though. But I don't know him well. He was with other candidates. He actually supported other candidates. Not me. Came in late. But here's my response. Now, if you weren't fake news, you'd cover it properly. I say to the ambassador in response, I want nothing. I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. Tell Zelensky, President Zelensky, to do the right thing. So here's my answer. I want nothing. I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. Tell Zelensky to do the right thing. Then he says, this is the final word from the President of the United States. I want nothing. Thank you, folks. Have a good time. I'm going to bed.
Want nothing. I don't want anything. No quid quo pro. No, I don't want anything. I'm just sending these to you just out of the goodness of my heart because I want you to defeat my pal Putin, the Russians. I'm sending it directly to you. Yeah, no, I don't want anything. No. Okay. There's an emoji for that. Looks a little bit like this. He didn't want anything. And Trump referred to that to the media as the perfect phone call. Yes, that was the perfect phone call. So what we found out in an investigation. Oh, by the way, you are welcome because streaming in this is the phone number. You are welcome to call in with your opinion. So, because one of the most important things of why this show is called What You Gotta Say is because we want to hear what you gotta say. And if you're a coward like the ones that we had yesterday, you can still send in your text message. Although you won't be able to defend yourself on what I've got to say about what you got to say, advise it. But we do respect every American's right to freedom of speech. Just don't be a jackass about it. Okay, so back to the subject. He wants nothing. He tells the press, I didn't ask for anything. No, that was a perfect phone call. Now, what we found in investigating through the Mueller report was that Trump had held the weapons being shipped to Ukraine. The president of Ukraine is, in fact, going crazy because he's trying to save his country against the aggression of Russia. Putin is on his quest for world dominance, or definitely world dominance in the European nations. And again, he wants to unite Russia to the way it used to be, which these guys are saying ain't gonna happen. Okay, so he holds this up. This president is fanatic. Now, he's talking president to president, right? No, he's talking aide to senior aide to Trump. So everybody's in the room together. Trump says to him, oh, no, he wants nothing. Then if he wants nothing, then why is he holding the weapons that this man needs for success? That's the equivalent of your mortgage being foreclosed on. You've got a friend who says he's going to loan you the money. He gets the money out of the bank. He has the check in his hand, yet he's holding the check. Why would someone do that? Well, henceforth, quid pro quo, or Latin, something for something. Now, quid pro quo has taken on a huge change in the 80s because quid pro quo was what we now call the Me Too, where women had to perform services to either keep their job or advance in their career. And the services were sexual. Let's get back to Trump. He's already being investigated for sex with a porn star, in which the porn star demanded payment for services because there was no quid in her quote pro. She's just straight pro. And he therefore went through his attorney, who came out of his pocket, refinanced his property to pay this woman a large sum of money. That was a very expensive lap dance. The next thing, the attorney started now pressuring Trump to give him his money back. And Donald Trump and making payments. Everybody in Atlantic City knows how famous Donald Trump is for making payments. In fact, so famous that there were a great deal of contractors who helped build his casinos who Trump had them pay their money out, in which he was supposed to reimburse them, and he went bankrupt, causing them to go bankrupt. Famous for making payments. But let's get back to this. So we therefore had the report, we had the hearing, and then we went through the period of Trump firing people to get the report. Then we had an attorney general who quit, and then enters in William Barr. The Mueller report comes back. Barr reads the report. Mueller says, no, I'm not going to take this. And actually, because I have enough evidence to prosecute, arrest, and convict. And he says, it is not in my nature because I am a solid American and I want to uphold the image of American democracy. And we just do not prosecute a seated president. So he therefore gives it to Barr to do the interpretation of it, the attorney general, the top lawyer in the United States, the man who makes all the rules, who gives the nod in terms of everybody that gets prosecuted. The attorney general appointed by Trump is now reading the report on Trump, the subject, and then, of course, wanting to keep his job, he says, no crime. Trump comes back a victorious winner and celebrating and saying, I told you it was a witch hunt. They were just after me. I've been treated worse than any president in the American history. Really? Well, he's been treated worse than any president in American history. Let's see. Who has been treated worse than Trump? According to him, nobody. Who have the fact checkers claim or treated worse than Trump? A lot of presidents. Let's start with the easy ones, the presidents that were shot. Oh, and then we had some that were killed. Oh, no, but he wasn't treated worse than that. And let's not forget my favorite president who has been treated the worst. You remember him, the black guy? Yeah, but Trump has been treated worse than all of them put together. Oh, well, let me digress. We're going to go with the smoking gun, just released yesterday on CNN. But we're going to do that right after this break. See you in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Into small business. That's a great way to have generational wealth. if you're a minority business, you may be struggling to keep your head above water. Why? In 2019, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion because the Black dollar lifespan, 28 days Asian communities, 19 days Jewish communities, 6 hours a month in the Black communities. Major brands target the Black media, TV, and radio. That's why Blacks are brand shoppers. That's why they get a big slice of that $1 trillion pie. Your business needs exposure. You got quotes from cable networks and local radio. They charge a lot of money for a little exposure. Networking and social media is a full-time job to get part-time money. Let's look at a successful Black business model. Remember Soul Train? It was a new Black TV show that Johnson Cosmetics increased the exposure of Afro Sheen and made billions of dollars for Bobby Johnson. Where are you going to find a good show for a low price? We have a talk show called What You Got to Say. What You Got to Say is a Black-owned talk show streaming live on YouTube channels, Facebook Live. What You Got to Say has a diverse audience from 18 to 62 years old, and their gross income range from $32,000 to $122,000 a year. That exposure will get you a good slice of the $1.5 trillion. Tell us about your business. Maybe able to get on our Black-owned spotlight. In 4 weeks, your business can go from surviving to thriving. To find out how you can get what's yours, email sales@squiresignage.com. They're waiting to hear what you got to say.
The smoking gun. For those who follow the impeachment hearing, as I did. First of all, it was the equivalent of watching paint dry. Second of all, it did have some information, but the information was so spread out that you just fell asleep just getting to the point. Oh, I think these impeachment hearings, what they need to do is, bring in a little more capitalism. Add commercials to it, which means they have to get to the point faster because the people who are paying them want to get, their product out. Just a thought. Or actually get somebody who has a great deal of communication skills, who can get directly to the point of the matter or the subject. But let me digress. During that hearing, they talked about, and the aides talked about, the Ukraine aide and translator talked about how they had to go through President Trump's advisor. His advisor at this time was none other than, take a look at this picture. Yes, Mayor Giuliani, Mr. Grecian Formula 16, hair dye, melting. I think that was because he had told so many lies that he was at the point where his body was about to spontaneously burst into flame. Yet, Rudy Giuliani, during the election of 2020, put together the dream team, better known as the team that couldn't sue straight, who sued all of these states that Trump lost in and sued the Black counties. Rudy Giuliani, the puppet himself, under the directions of Donald Trump, the puppet master, he had a phone call with Ukraine. And this was the result. Watch this.
All we need from the president is to say, I'm going to put an honest prosecutor in charge. He's going to investigate and dig up the evidence that presently exists, and is there any other evidence about involvement of the 2016 election? And then the Biden thing has to be run out. I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, I see him bragging about it on television. And to me as a lawyer, it sounds like a bribe. Somebody in Ukraine's got to take that seriously. So if he could make some statement at the right time that he supports a fair, honest law enforcement system, and that these investigations go wherever they have to go. It's going to be run by honest people. That would clear the air really well. And I think it would make it possible for me to come and make it possible, I think, for me to talk to the president and see what I can do about making sure that whatever misunderstandings are put aside. And maybe even, I kind of think that this could be a good thing for having a much better relationship where we really understand each other.
Boom! The smoking gun. Donald Trump had Rudy Giuliani get some information. Well, first he tried to dig up information on his campaign opponents. Then, once Joe Biden won North Carolina, and basically from that point, his wins just kept building and building and building, and the momentum of the Biden campaign started growing to the point where now Donald Trump considered him to be a threat. Of course, he was a threat. Let's look at Joe Biden's record. He is one of the oldest and honest senators in the Senate. Why do we say honest senators in the Senate? Okay, here's the Senate game. The Senate game, these guys who are making hundreds of thousands a year on your tax dollars are making millions of dollars a year on campaign donations, which get filtered in through appearances, parties, groups. They get money from people who want them to vote in their favor. That goes through things like their nonprofit, which basically doesn't do anything except for give them money. Any other philanthropical events or any other groups that they are quote unquote connected to. These senators make millions of dollars in money that goes from the NRA, the activists that are basically either for or against abortion, the people who want to see Roe v. Wade overturned, and people who want to have Roe v. Wade stay. They get money from groups who have to go to the government to get money. So let's say I need $100 million. Well, let me donate 300,000 to roughly 4 different senators so that I can get my bill passed or my project funded by the government. Henceforth, build a wall and let Mexico pay for it. To this date, has Mexico given us a dime? No. But I digress. So we're going to talk about that. And I encourage you, call in. I'd like to hear what you got to say. And we're going to talk about that in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirute v'amlich malchute.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah.
Our often repeated prayers,
Although we may be different,
Yet similar.
as we reach out to our Creator,
we offer all praise.
And we seek forgiveness.
we ask for peace in our hearts, in our minds, and in our spirits. Amen.
So Donald Trump wants to defeat Joe Biden. So what does he do? He pressures the man to manufacture evidence against Hunter Biden. All right, well, let's look at the evidence that they're manufacturing. Let's look at the huge outrage right now that Americans have over Hunter Biden's based upon, or as they say in the street, on the strength of his dad, who was vice president at that time, getting a cushiony multi-million-dollar a year job in Ukraine in the power industry. And everybody's upset with that. So let's look at privileged class. Privileged class does a great deal of things based upon the influence of the privileged father. Basically, if you are the king, your son gets a nice cushiony job where he does very little work and has very little experience in it. You're just doing that based upon the simple fact that that's king. Hunter, is what they're saying, was privileged because he has no basic experience in energy, yet making millions of dollars in the energy field. Okay. The big outrage with that, when people talk about that situation and are extremely outraged, it smacks to me with a huge level of hypocrisy. Really. You tell me, one parent that would not call a judge when your child is in law school so that he can clerk for you. Or if your child's in medical school and you knew someone who was a director of a hospital, you wouldn't make one phone call to get them to be an intern at a top medical facility. Really? You wouldn't? You wouldn't do it. Okay. If you said no, you wouldn't do any of that, then I don't call it hypocrisy. I call it lying. Okay. So let's go on with that. So Hunter, so now they're digging up and manufacturing dirt, or he wants them to manufacture dirt, in which they did not, and they declined. Well, why did they decline? People who got wind of it actually started pushing politicians, and politicians coming up with the actual law. It is a crime to withhold any funding, equipment, and material that was passed through Congress and the Senate for a specific project, person, or country. It's a crime. You can't do it. Once it's passed the House and it's passed the Senate, that is guaranteed funds or material. It's a crime to do it. So when the whistleblower broke and people found out what Trump did, Trump pushed it forward and didn't get the information. He decided to do other things in that case. He decided to release it and say, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I had nothing to do with it. Oh, by the way, what he also did with that was throw Giuliani under the bus. So those black marks that you saw on his face, yeah, those were bus tracks. However, we're going to dive into this a little more. I welcome you to call. I'm Vincent Squire because I want to hear what you got to say.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله.
Our often repeated prayers,
although we may be different,
yet similar.
as we reach out to our Creator,
we offer all praise.
And we seek forgiveness.
we ask for peace in our hearts, in our minds, and in our spirits. Amen.
Okay, let's see. Let me respond on my Facebook page. Something said by Mike the Coward. Mike's not a coward. He just didn't want to call in on the show. Mike said, we knew it all along. So why are you showing this ancient history? Well, okay, Mike. We knew it all along. We did. And there was right now a huge and still huge divide. Donald Trump was not the commander in chief. One of the things that I look for in leadership is that a leader has the ability to bring people together. The Bible says when a man's walk is right with the Lord, even his enemies are at peace. That's the sign of a good leader, that even though people disagree with you, they're at peace with you and your policies. The country, in terms of Obama, even though there were a lot of people who did not like him, there were those who did not like him, but yet still respect him. What it means is this, that Donald Trump was not a leader. Donald Trump was a divider. If I can divide the nation, if I can divide blacks against whites, if I can divide whites against Mexicans, if I can divide whites against Asian, then I can conquer everybody, because these guys will basically cancel each other out and I will win by the whites. Division has gone so deep in our country. I mean, believe me, the strategy of the Republican Party to cancel, or as Mitch McConnell promised, that he would make President Obama a one-trick pony, basically meaning he would do everything to have him lose the election. They went into division, where Obama ran on bringing everybody together and bringing everybody to the table to support, to pass bills and legislation, to reach out and extend a helping hand to Americans who have been suffering through all of this republicanism, basically meaning we are going to cut our spending by cutting our social projects, or in short, we're going to continue to give money from the rich while we do nothing and support the poor. And while we're doing nothing to support those who are poor, we're going to now victim shaming them by saying you're lazy and you could be successful if you stop being lazy and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Martin Luther King said, it's an abomination to say that a man should pull himself up from his bootstraps when he doesn't even have boots. But I digress. Divider in chief. The divisiveness in America has caused a huge rift where we cannot figure out the group because of tribalism. And you think that tribalism does not pay attention or play an important part into what you believe? Okay. Your child, your neighbor, your friend. Let's say your friend. Your friend comes back and tells you, don't mess with this person because they are a no good, low down so-and-so. They did incredible things to me and it's horrible. And I don't want you to get involved with that. I want you to run from them. You, based upon the strength, as they say in the street, or the credibility of your relationship, follow their advice. That is tribalism. Now, most people, a lot of people, I'm lying to myself, like to think for themselves. That's the part where I was lying to myself. People tend, I'm finding that a majority of people don't think for themselves. They think on what other people say and don't check the information for themselves. So, but if you were the type of person who was very analytical and you like to think for yourself and process the information, what you found out is that what your friend told you was a half truth. Yes, that person did do some things to them. However, your friend did not mention what they did to that person. So that support of that friend, right or wrong, is basically tribalism, or the simple fact of when you are a sports fan, or which is short for fanatic. I mean, we've got some fanatics now who are just so privileged that they throw, food, yell, cuss, kick, and spit on athletes because they don't like them or they're against their team. By the way, I like Charles Barkley's answer. He said that the NBA commissioner should take the restrictions off the rules. And if a fan spits, throws, or brings harm to an NBA player, that player has the right to climb up in the stands and whoop they mother. You get the gist. But so divisiveness and tribalism, or is what we have been going. There are people who are following Trump no matter what. Tribalism. As we talked yesterday, they're not listening to their better angels. Their army of angels is being shouted down by the demon of one versus an army, and you still are not listening. Tribalism is what got us into this level of divisiveness to the point where people have now decided that they are going to go against the formation, the protocols, and the traditions of the United States democracy of election. Case in point, January 6th insurrection. Why? Because the divisiveness is basically caused or fueled by fear. They have been pushing fear on white America since the 1800s. Yes, you guessed it. Fear of Black rule. Preying upon the insecurities of another, that this person who you've had impressed once will come into power and now destroy you because of your oppression. Fear of now those in which you had charge over could tell them to do anything and you can do anything to them, are now in a position where they can basically return the favor. Fear of Black rule and control, which basically became exploited through the Obama administration. Fear that a man of color would now turn the tides of the country, to therefore set what was wrong to now right, that we were going to, one, vote in as many Republicans as possible, to two, fight every bill that he tried to push through. That fear is what kept us where we are. The biggest peddlers of that fake information and fear were at that time called the Tea Partiers. The Tea Partiers, yes, you know those wonderful people. You remember the Tea Party? They were the ones that wore the ties. Now, the Republicans are the same Tea Partiers, except for they're not wearing suits. They're now wearing combat grade weaponry and storming the Capitol because of now the fear of Black rule. A book in which, I'm sorry, not a book, but a movie in which I had discussed the demonic possessions or how it had a demonic possession upon people was the book called The Birth of a Nation. The movie The Birth of a Nation, and if anybody ever saw The Black Klansman, it's the initial book of entry level into white nationalism, in which one of the things that they did is basically exaggerated and lied about states under Black rule, where they saw them eating food and drinking liquor, having sex with white women, and the entire thing. That is the mindset of pushing fear. And what these people did was they considered the Klan as the heroes, the true patriots of white value, and which is right for America and doing everything that we can possibly do. A falsehood. And then this movie became even more popular when president who was elected by Black people, who took people money to campaign and funding to do advertising and travel around the world, took this movie, had a special showing in the White House, and then said that this movie was like lightning in a bottle. Through. This is the fear that America has. We have to now come to the realization that, in fact, those who have done some world traveling, you come to a huge realization, depending on what country you go to. South America is a very big continent, which has a great deal of people, which during this expansion and divide, of course. So what we find out is that Europeans are only the majority in Europe. In terms of North America, Europeans are the majority, which the dichotomy is now changing. America is becoming more and more not white, but more and more brown. And the big fear is that white supremacy, or I'm sorry, not white supremacy, white privilege is going away. But we're going to discuss how white privilege is leaving, and we're going to do that in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Into small business. That's a great way to have generational wealth. If you're a minority business, you may be struggling to keep your head above water. Why? In 2019, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion because the Black dollar lifespan, 28 days Asian communities, 19 days Jewish communities, 6 hours a month in the Black communities. Major brands target the Black media, TV, and radio. That's why Blacks are brand shoppers. That's why they get a big slice of that $1 trillion pie. Your business needs exposure. You got quotes from cable networks and local radio. They charge a lot of money for a little exposure. Networking and social media is a full-time job to get part-time money. Let's look at a successful Black business model. Remember Soul Train? It was a new Black TV show that Johnson Cosmetics increased the exposure of Afro Sheen and made billions of dollars for Bobby Johnson. Where are you gonna find a good show for a low price? We have a talk show called What You Got to Say. What You Got to Say is a Black-owned talk show streaming live on YouTube channels, Facebook Live. What You Got to Say has a diverse audience from 18 to 62 years old, and their gross income range from $32,000 to $122,000 a year. That exposure will get you a good slice of the $1.5 trillion. Tell us about your business. Maybe able to get on our Black-owned spotlight. In 4 weeks, your business can go from surviving to thriving. To find out how you can get what's yours, email sales@squiresignage.com. They're waiting to hear what you got to say.
For those who have been following the show, and I'm sorry I'm deviating from our normal plan. We originally at this point wanted to go into why our senator from West Virginia is going against his own constituents or the people who voted him in, but explaining to our little cowardly friend what the whole thing is all about. It seems to be a little bit important. So we left talking about white privilege for people of color, we know what white privilege is because we know what being black has gotten us. Does that make sense to anybody? Of course it does. What being black has got you is being shot while black, being shot with an air freshener while black, being shot with a brush and killed by the police while black, being shot, being shot in your home while black by police, being shot in your home while black because police have a no-knock warrant and militarized weaponry, being shot by police while being a 12-year-old with a toy gun, being shot by not a police, but a town watch because you're black and you're armed with skills. What we have found about white privilege is that it gives them huge privilege to kill blacks. Not only to kill blacks, but white privilege gives them the privilege to do things like take your land, lie to you about how they took your land, or that you don't own the land. White privilege has allowed the world to develop into a man with a bachelor's degree making less than a white man with a high school diploma, or a man with a master's degree making less than a man in the same corporation with a high school diploma. Oh, white privilege goes into how your home is basically appraised. Homes in which black people own and they're looking to sell or refinance are appraised far lower than homes with less amenities or structural or foundational perfection than those of the white counterparts. Oh, so white privilege allows you the advantage to advance further than the black man, or as they said in the movie Mississippi Burning, boy, if you can't beat an N, then who can you beat? Which, now, the big fight for white privilege is this. The reason that we have white privilege is based upon corporation of white superiority. Corporation of white superiority is basically large businesses and small people financing politicians to enact laws on white policies or laws or in which they get judges who, even when you sue them for the injustice, it's not ruled in your favor. Are you getting the point yet? So the laws in which white America uses to oppress you, black America can't use to get relief of the oppression. That's the big thing of the divisiveness. The people stormed the Capitol because Donald Trump said that he armed them with the lie of the election was stolen. Yeah, that's just like, my favorite team won the Super Bowl, even though they missed the field goal. You get the point? Any reason that they needed to basically commit an heinous act. Emmett Till was killed for a no good reason, quote unquote. The woman in the elevator said that he assaulted her. Oh, by the way, to this day, she has admitted that she lied. Yet, to this day, nobody has arrested her for that heinous crime. See, that's white privilege. That's what they're fighting to keep. And the more our country becomes brown, the less of the privileges white people have. That's the belief. But in reality, Martin Luther King said it the best. I have a dream that a man should be judged by the contents of his character rather than the color of his skin. Black America does not want to take away white privilege. What we want to do is take the knee off our neck. What we want to do is be judged by the content of our character, our ability to work, Let our success be upon the sweat of our brow, on a level playing field. Let our children get the same level of education and watch them grow to be productive members of society. Yes, there are things in which divide us, but we've got more things in common that unite us than those in which divide us. We keep letting the divisiveness and the division pick us out of our level of comfort and growth. We continue to let the division and divisiveness put fear into others that we are now going to rule over them and now pay them back for the injustices of their great great grandfather. We keep listening to the divisiveness and the backlash of it, or the fear of the backlash of it, that we are missing the most important thing. The divisiveness continues to have us fighting, in which Americans have progressed very little on both sides, to the point where we no longer are leading the world in terms of education or technology or money. In fact, we are no longer the leader in manufacturing or the leader in terms of growth of shipment of product. Our gross domestic product is now becoming us being a supplier and leader of the world in technologies and education to us being a consumer. We're so busy fighting each other that we don't see the world conquering us. That's the big problem with divisiveness. A house divided cannot stand. The United States cannot be that beacon, that great light, or as the president said, that great society when it's based upon divisiveness. We say that Black Lives Matter, and people counter with no, Black lives don't matter, all lives matter. Well, if Black lives don't matter, then all lives don't matter, because wouldn't Black be included in the all? All. But yet, in the ignorance of the divisiveness, they're not realizing that we are now falling apart. Martin Luther King said, we'll either be united as one, the great society, or divided and fall as fools. And more, we are falling as fools. We have to stop the divisiveness to work together. And this is both sides, Black, white, or I'm sorry, all sides, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. We have to work together, or we're going to continue to fall. And we're going to fall because of the divisiveness. Falling, failing, a fool. Does it truly matter the color of the skin of a person who pulls you out of a burning car? No. You stay away. I'm waiting for a Black man to rescue me. Does it truly matter the color of a person's skin who is now treating you for fatal illness? No. I don't care if you're the leading cancer physician, and I don't care if you're the director of the leading world-renowned cancer treatment center. I want a white man to look after me. Does it truly matter who helps us in our time of need, the color of their skin? Or does it truly matter that we get the help we need? Let's give that some information. As Marvin Gaye says, war is not the answer, because only love can conquer hate. We need to show a lot more love for ourselves, show a lot more love for our country, instead of showing a lot more love for our ethnicity. one thing that the COVID has shown is that it is no prejudice racist virus. It's attacking everybody. The same thing with hate.